Well, it is true that even today, it's harder for a woman. There are fewer parts, more actresses competing. There are more actresses than there are actors. And their career span seems shorter. What the reasons for that are, who can say?
Well, Janet and I were talking yesterday about Jane Wyman, and about the fact that she was such a powerhouse at the box office that they literally created the older woman role in those films, those Doug Sirk films with Rock Hudson. It was kind of, and even with Lana Turner.
Well, I did a picture with Jane. It wasn't a very good picture, but it was. She had a strong role in it. She was the founder of a department store chain, as I recall. And as I said, it unhappily wasn't a very good picture, but that wasn't Jane's fault.
But you mentioned in your book, you said perhaps it would have been better done by Rock Hudson, who seemed to be...
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a fluffier sort of story, I guess. Whether that was my fault that it didn't work is an open question. Certainly that it was the kind of role that Rock did.
And do you think that I am correct that the reason that they created those vehicles was because those women, that handful of women, just meant so much at the box office, like a Jennifer Jones? And
well, to explore that probably true comment, you want to go back another 10 years to Norma Shearer and Joan Crawford and Bette Davis. And when they really were, there was a time in the 30s when I remember George Brent saying, "It's marvelous, all I have to do is have my hair cut, because all you see is the back of my head in those pictures with Bette Davis." But, and Greta Garbo, of course. But that, Claudette Colbert. But that was another time, and I'm not an expert witness to it. I did 2 films with Ava, even towards the end of her career, and she still was just stunning. Probably, arguably at least, arguably the most beautiful woman in film. You could say, well, Garbo, I guess you'd have to say Garbo, Jennifer Jones, a couple of others, but here it gets to be a very short list. And the problem with stunning beauties of that level is that a lot of them, and I think I can fairly say this of Ava because I worked with her twice, a lot of them believe in their heart of hearts that their beauty is the only reason they're hired. Now, Ava wasn't a bad actress, but she thought she was. She was a perfectly competent actress, but she was, I give you Marilyn Monroe, whom you could hardly get in front of a camera. And Monroe was certainly the last of the great studio actresses, studio stars. And they were abused, mishandled, treated as sex toys by the studio heads. It was a bad situation. Again, this was a little before my time, but we are aware of it.
And it must... Excuse me, and as you say, you encountered them as a young actor.
Yeah, and the Ava showed the scars as much as any of them did. And I never worked with Monroe. I turned down a part with Monroe because I'd heard about how difficult she was to work with. Not that she made scenes, but she just didn't show up. If she's not there, you can't do the shot.
Was there anyone who, well, you obviously didn't need as much help because you had a lot of acting experience, but do you remember anyone being particularly gracious to you?
Jimmy Stewart, Gary Cooper, guys like that, Hank Fonda. Wonderful guy, wonderful. I was very fortunate early in my career to work with men like that, and directors like DeMille and Olivier and Wyler and Stevens.
What was Betty Hutton like?
What she seemed on the screen. Bouncing Betty Hutton, you know, she was fine.
I love the line in your book where you said you did the first scene in the circus movie.
Yeah, and tripped to
Jimmy
the edge of
Stewart
the
was
ring.
in the car, and he said, "Well, you'll get better."
No, he said, hey, well, Chuck, it can only get better from here.